You can try fighting the law all you want, but the law is always going to win. From politicians and celebrities to sports figures and business leaders, they're fighting the law. Now, here to sort out the nation's top legal news stories is America's favorite legal analyst, Royal Oakes. This is the Royal Oakes Show.
Robbing people with a 6-gun. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won. I miss my baby and I'm good fun. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won.
Tell us how you're doing.
Now we hear. I think we're in here now.
Technical difficulties.
We have technical. Bob and Ray used to do the old Ollie Ballou.
Ken here is
so
going through a tunnel.
I think suddenly our voices came up.
Excellent. Good,
Yes.
good. We've conquered technical difficulties. So welcome to the Royal Oakes Show. Our co-host Ken Jeffries. How are you doing, Ken?
No,
Excellent.
we're doing okay.
Even better than usual.
Good. No, we're doing fine. We're doing
Nice
fine.
sold.
Yeah, best
We're
show
doing fine.
ever.
Best show ever.
Connor Oakes, our millennial correspondent. How are you?
Happy to be here as always.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we had kind of a lineup of top stories I was thinking about yesterday, but of course the big story, the death of President George Herbert Walker Bush. We're definitely going to get into that huge story.
Yeah,
also, Mr. Cohen's new plea. Michael Cohen is a second plea for perjury in 3 or 4 months. And so
How many times can you alter a plea?
there's no limit. There's no limit. Yeah, you
He's
can
gonna
do
set
as
it
many
in
times as you
writing.
want.
Okay.
So the issue is going to be, guys, is this a nail in Trump's coffin, or is it just a
Feather in his cap.
or a 5-month
Feather in
oopsie?
his cap.
The oopsie theory, though,
Yeah.
Connor, is out there because all that he lied about was January versus June 2016. But
is that
we'll
it?
get into that. Climate change is in the
All
news. Is the debate over, or is it just starting? We've got the president's feedback on the big report about climate change. Caravan craziness. Is it tear gassing toddlers, or is it thwarting an invasion?
A lot of alliteration here.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Spiro Agnew, did he help? No, he's dead.
Nattering nabobs.
He'll come up again on the show, I'm confident.
And finally, Stormy Daniels throws Avenatti under the bus. He has been stripped from the team.
Oh!
What am I, did I say anything wrong?
No, that was good.
We're also going to, of course, have our moron of the week feature. One of the moron candidates, guys, just to tease this for you, he's a man who tried to pay for his Big Mac with a sock. Alcohol may have been involved.
Was there something valuable in the sock?
No, it was an empty sock. This was not a, it's like David Letterman used to say, he just wanted to get something off his chest. He did kill a drifter outside of Albuquerque with a tube sock full of wood screws.
Right.
Yeah, no wood screws in this sock.
And nothing to do with
An empty
Mr. Sacco, that's from the World Wrestling Federation. Mankind, the wrestler, had Mr. Sacco with a puppet.
I'm behind. All I know is Jesse Ventura. That's all I know about that.
Mr. Sacco.
That's right. We're also going to get into our Bizarro World news after we cover the important stuff. And the headline here is going to disappoint a lot of people. Your dog isn't smart after all. In fact, he's dumb. We have proof.
No.
So stick around for that. But our top story is the death of President, 41st President of the U.S. He was known as 41 because his son was then 43, George Herbert Walker Bush. Guys, my impression is that he was really a gracious, sort of patrician person of another time. I mean, he seems kind of quaint when we think about our hurly-burly, internet-oriented society now. I mean, his manners, he used to write these handwritten notes. He was famous for his thank you notes and so on. He seemed out of step. You may remember the moment in the campaign when he ran against Clinton in '92. He's in the grocery store, and he sees a barcode thing at the grocery checkout, and he acts like it's somebody has invented the wheel, and he's a caveman.
Yeah.
And he got a lot of flack.
Well, we have another president who said you need ID to get by cereal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. The time marches on.
Yeah, he certainly does seem to be a man of another era. I think, he's the guy. Also, he's the guy who said we should, strive to be a kindler and gentler nation. I believe. Of course, he's also the guy who ran the Willie Horton racist race baiting ad.
Yes,
so,
well,
I mean, at the same time that he is this guy that we see as an elder statesman. I mean, for the last 30 years, he's been the elder of the statesmen, compared to the other people running for office and winning in office, and his son, a very, very different person, came off as a very different type. And so it's easy to grade these guys on a curve. I don't want to.
Did he sign off on that? That was a Lee Atwater thing, wasn't it? Remember
the
Lee
Willie
Atwater
Horton ad dealt with
It was
Michael
a Roger
Dukakis.
Ailes thing.
Well, here's the deal. When Michael Dukakis, governor of Massachusetts, ran against Bush in 1988, and Bush beat him pretty badly.
Crushed him by like 16 points.
Dukakis had this swell idea as governor of Massachusetts. Okay, there are a bunch of murderers in our Massachusetts prisons, but some of them have been behaving really well. We're going to give them weekend furloughs for murderers. Yeah. And some of them went out and killed people. And Willie Horton went out and killed people. He was a black man. They put his picture on the ad in the commercial. And it really was very effective criticizing Dukakis' attitude toward crimes. Now, was their intent to be blatantly racist? Was that effect? Did they appeal to all the KKK members out there who saw that? I don't know.
Well, you don't have to appeal
to me, there's nothing illegitimate about showing a picture of a murderer if you're trying to help the people visualize that Dukakis had a really bad idea.
You got to go back and remember what went on then, too. And I didn't know that Willie Horton. I remember the Horton thing a little bit, but I didn't know it went back to a program of furloughing murderers.
Yes, he was a murderer.
That was,
and he was really
murderer. So the problem was that it's not just that one ad, and you can't look at that in isolation and say, well, maybe they didn't have any intent to race bait by putting a black criminal photo in this ad and associating Dukakis with this murderer and sort of inflaming racial tension. That wasn't their goal. But you look at who made these decisions. This is literally Roger Ailes, was a campaign strategist for George H.W. Bush.
And Lee Atwater.
Atwater had a hand in this too.
And they said,
but nobody remembered Ailes from those days.
Sorry, he wasn't famous yet. Yeah.
But,
so we look at this situation. Why were they running these ads? It's because George H.W. Bush looked kind of milquetoast. He could look kind of a wuss compared to Reagan. We were just coming off of Reagan winning the Cold War, the cowboy, looking like a badass. So how do we embrace that masculinity of Reagan and make Bush more like him? Well, we inflame people's passions. We get people excited and angry about the Bush campaign. And the way we do that is we race bait, embrace toxic masculinity, and
well, perhaps I don't have a very good memory of the rest of the campaign.
I do. I'll say one thing about Dukakis. He did not do himself any favors with two things. Number one, looking like Snoopy in the tank. The other one was Bernie Shaw, who was an anchor at CNN. Well, Bernie, like we were close. No, I didn't know him. No. Bernard Shaw was an anchor at CNN. You may remember this.
I do.
And during one of the debates, he said, if Kitty Dukakis was raped and killed, would you be in favor of the death penalty? And Dukakis, it was like a
passionless response. Yeah, matter of fact, I was at Pauley Pavilion in 1988. I was there. The thing about Bush that people mentioned, a reporter noted that he was one of 8 presidents, I think it was 8, whose lives were really shaped by World War II and the Cold War. Yeah. And that's it. No more Obama and Clinton, they don't fall into that category. Speaking of the Cold War, you mentioned it. Ronald Reagan and a judge I worked for, William P. Clark, I'm rereading a book about him.
Supreme Court Justice in California.
Supreme Court. They get a lot of credit for pressuring the Soviet Union so hard that we ultimately won the Cold War by basically bankrupting them. But it was on George H.W. Bush's watch that the Berlin Wall came down, that the Soviet Union ended, I believe, in 1990 or 91. So he gets credit for that. He also, of course, don't forget President Bush's Mideast legacy. And compared to his son, maybe he looks pretty good.
Well, that's actually, I think,
Saddam Hussein, you remember, went in and crushed little Kuwait. And George H.W. Bush assembled an international coalition, convinced the Congress, went in, and in a 5-day war, crushed him. But even though some people were saying, let's go to Baghdad, let's kill him, capture him, he said, no, our work is done. And then when his son decided we're going to wipe him out, well, it's the old Pottery Barn rule. You break it, you own it, you fix it, and we're still trying to fix it.
We're still paying for it, yeah.
You can say, again, like I said a couple of minutes ago, if we're grading on a curve, maybe H.W. sounds better than W. Maybe he sounds the early 90s invasion of Iraq to save Kuwait sounds better than the 2003 invasion of Iraq to stop WMDs. But both were built on a pile, effectively, of untruths or outright lies. Like the the reasons we went into Kuwait were not just Saddam did a bad thing and we have to punish him for having done it. We did it on the basis of basically a new domino theory. We said, oh, there are tanks and forces massing on the border of Saudi Arabia. We have to protect our allies' oil supply, Saudi Arabia, and they were explicit in this, and that it was our oil supply, Saudi Arabia. So we have to stop them before the next domino falls. So we'll go in and fight this war. The satellite images that the New York Times dug up before we fought the war, but after these statements had been made, showed that there was no massing on the border, that this massively complicated, huge regional fight that had been going on for decades between Iraq and Kuwait and Iran and Saudi Arabia, it was really complicated. And it wasn't just a nut job Saddam Hussein was completely unbalanced. He was going wild and invading Kuwait. He had all his personal bad reasons for doing it, but it didn't mean he was about to invade Saudi Arabia, and we did not need to fight a war, even if it was brief and limited loss of life.
Aren't you forgetting the old adage, never speak ill of the dead?
Well, I'm not speaking ill. I'm just saying the guy fabricated evidence to go into a war in the Middle East, just like his son did. It's almost like his son and all the Republican National Committee strategists who said, it worked last time, let's just do it again.
I think some people have said, there's the old oil man, Bush, George H.W. Bush. Yeah. It's all about oil.
Yeah.
Well, Saddam Hussein was a monster, and he did invade Kuwait, and so I think Bush did the right thing. The 1992 campaign was interesting. Bush was riding so high, he was up over 90% approval. I mean, it was stunning.
Right,
and I remember a David Letterman joke. He has his top 10 lists. Top 10 ways George Bush could lose the 1992 election. This was when he was at his apex.
Who was even running?
One of them was, it's determined that his real name is Debbie Bush, and another one was he has a secret family in Arkansas. This was Letterman's idea.
Right.
It's so inevitable. But the economy goes slowly down. Bush violates his principle, his promise.
New taxes.
Read my lips, no new taxes. And the deficit was getting so big, he felt he had to break his promise. He later said he regretted it. But next thing you know, he's down to about 35%. But the real reason he lost, the same reason that Al Gore lost in 2000 to the Sun, was Ralph Nader, I think, because Nader sucked a lot of liberal votes, and all you needed to do was take a few away.
Yeah.
But Ross Perot is the guy that really beat Bush in 1992. Yeah. I mean, Clinton won, and Ross Perot had a personal vendetta. The story I heard was that when Reagan was president, Ross Perot wanted to be assigned the job of going and getting a bunch of hostages overseas, and the decision in the administration was, no, we don't want Ross to do it. And George Bush's job as VP was to go deliver the bad news to Ross Perot. And apparently he didn't deliver it in a very diplomatic way because Perot never got over it, and it was a grudge match. And Perot kept going after Bush, even though he was a spoiler.
How much of the vote do you remember how much of the vote he got in 92, Perot?
Perot got 19%.
Which was enough to...
And Bush only got something like 38%. And
giant sucking sound. Remember that about NAFTA?
Yeah.
Later on, it was the giant sucking... Can I ask a question? Could George H.W. Bush be the Republican nominee for president in these times?
Now, why would you doubt that he could be?
Because the party has changed, the Republican Party has changed.
Honestly, I think he's the originator. He's the progenitor of this change that made the switch. The Willie Horton ad is in most people's minds the seminal moment where sort of politics and ads become these attack ads that are race baiting. They're these brutal attacks in people's.
But he's still viewed as a moderate.
Yeah, now he is.
No, absolutely.
I don't know. I just thought
Well, the thing is, populism is so different from conservatism.
That's true.
I mean, Goldwater and Reagan were pure conservatives, and now you got a populist. The other thing about George H.W. was the Supreme Court, quite a legacy. Clarence Thomas and David Souter. Souter comes in as a Republican conservative guy, ends up to be one of the big paragon liberals in the court, and yet... and Clarence Thomas, super conservative. So when we come back, we're going to talk about Mr. Michael Cohen's new plea deal on the Royal Oak Show.
We'll be back on CRN with the Royal Oak Show.
Were you scammed into signing a timeshare contract? And did you miss the part that said you have to pay for your great idea? Not only for the rest of your life, but when you're not here anymore, you get to pass this turkey onto your family for them to pay for the rest of their lives. Thanks, Dad. Don't burden your family down the road, and don't be stuck with expensive timeshare payments forever. Get out of your bad idea timeshare contract guaranteed, or pay nothing. Call Resort Release today and learn for free how their timeshare Timeshare Exit team can help you legally exit your timeshare contract. They've helped thousands of people, and they're A+ rated with a BBB. So if you feel scammed, get mad, and get out of your expensive timeshare contract right now, guaranteed. Call NOW.
800-716-9903. 800-716-9903. 800-716-9903. That's 800-716-9903.
When you really want Italian food, you have got to get to Columbo's. Columbo's Italian Steakhouse and Jazz Club. Colorado Boulevard, Eagle Rock. It's that little neighborhood place you wish was down the street from you. Now, indulgers of plenty and good fortune, this is a call to action. It's holiday party time. You have been assigned the awesome responsibility of planning the Christmas gathering. No gnashing of teeth. No worries. It's time for the very best office get-together ever at Columbo's. Good Time Central. 323-254-9138. Jazz every night. Columbo's family award-winning Italian recipes coming to life and award you with an abundance of yummy, mouth-watering steaks, the freshest fish, and the world's greatest meatballs, all for a mere pittance. Party time at Columbo's. 323-254-9138. Make your reservations now. Columbo's, that little neighborhood place you wish was down the street from you. The holiday office party at Columbo's. Manja.
If Ernest Hemingway was alive today, would he say this to you?
Shakespeare, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, all great writers. And after reading your book, I simply must add you to the list.
Wait, you don't have a book yet. So make a free call to Page Publishing. Their expert staff can help you turn your book idea into a real book, a masterpiece that could someday make the bestseller list in hard copy and digitally all across the world. Page Publishing can help you completely take your idea for a book, write it, and publish it. So if you want to join the ranks of some of the most famous authors in the world, call now for a free information kit. Turn your book idea into publishing gold. Make a free call right now to Page Publishing.
800-378-3212. 800-378-3212. 800-378-3212. That's 800-378-3212.
Welcome back to the Royal Oak Show with our co-host Ken Jeffries and our millennial correspondent Connor Oakes. So we've been talking about the death of the 41st President George H.W. Bush, who, by the way, it's surprising he was ever in a position to have that job because he blasted Ronald Reagan as standing for voodoo economics. And Reagan
I remember that. Yeah.
Really didn't like that, and he almost didn't pick him in 1980, but he did select him, and so
how did H.W. win the religious conservative right after being nicknamed Rubbers? The guy was a super big Planned Parenthood supporter, pro-contraception, pro-reproductive rights, pro-women, and then he had to make a complete, 180 to turn around and sprint the other direction towards the religious right and change his mind on all of these women's issues and reproductive rights issues and drop support for Planned Parenthood in order to win the religious right.
He
and
had
it worked.
to also overcome history because somebody was quoting, and you guys may know the exact figure, but the last time before Bush went from vice president to be president in 1988, the last time that had happened, it was something in the mid-1800s. It's just
really?
That a VP became president?
Yeah,
it's
so very...
Well, Harry Truman, when FDR died.
Elected.
Elected.
That's cheating. Apparently,
that's
just almost
cheating.
Unprecedented. Hey, before we get to the Michael Cohen situation, we got our Moron of the Week feature, guys. I want to lay our first stupid candidate on you, and then we'll vote later to see who's the stupidest of them all. This first one's a guy named Shamsher Butt, Shamsher.
Sorry?
B-U-T-T. Shamsher Butt. He's from England. That's how they have names
good
in
point,
England.
good point.
So he's going to a McDonald's, and he's going through the drive-thru. He's had a little to drink, vodkas and Cokes, and he doesn't have his wallet. So he gets up there.
Wait. Sorry. I have to interrupt the entire story. Did you say vodka and Coke?
Vodka and Coke.
That's the worst mixed drink I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah. Well,
my God.
This is only part of his problem.
That's his only problem.
He doesn't have money. He wants his McDonald's food, and he offers to pay them with a potato chip package. And they say no. Now, to me, it was ironic, because what if part of his order was potato chips? It would seem like it would work. But they said, no, we're not going to take your package. Then he said, how about a sock? would you take a sock in payment? Well, they call the police, and the police arrest the guy, and the rest is English criminal law history.
What are we arresting the guy for? All he's doing is proposing.
He was driving through the drive-through twice legal limit.
Oh, right.
So that's
the vodkas and cokes. I forgot.
So he's moron of the week candidate number one.
Numero uno.
And a front runner, by the way.
Some people would say moron of the decade candidate is Michael Cohen for being the fixer and the lawyer for Donald Trump. But he was big in the news this week.
It was probably pretty profitable for him for decades.
To go back through memory lane, in August of this year, Michael Cohen pled guilty to lying about the campaign finance law violation about the Stormy Daniels payment. He admitted that he and the president-to-be engineered a hush money deal for Stormy Daniels, and he lied about it to investigators, and so that was a plea deal in August. Now, this week, he has pled guilty to something different, and I didn't even know about this deal, but apparently, for 2 or 3 years before the election, the Trump people were talking with folks in Moscow about putting up a Trump Tower in Moscow. Yeah. And Cohen his job was to go deal with the Moscow real estate titans and the plutocrats and Putin's people, and there was conversation, but it never quite came together. Fast forward to Cohen testifying before the United States Senate several months ago, and they asked him, what do you know about this Trump Tower thing? And we're interested in Russia having interests and collusion with Trump in 2016. And he said, oh, yeah, I talked to the Russians, but we stopped talking in January 2016, period. Turns out that was a lie. He stopped talking in June 2016, and that's what he lied about, the 5-month difference. Now, in that gap, in March 2016, Russia hacked the Democrats, got the 50,000 emails, and gave them to WikiLeaks later, who dumped them as an October surprise before the election. So now the question is there any significance to the fact that he lied about this 5-month period? Is it just an oopsie, or do you think that perhaps this is just such further evidence of tentacles between the Trump people and Russia? It doesn't seem like it's absolute smoking gun evidence that Donald Trump had fingerprints on dealings with Moscow on the election, but it certainly is another piece of the puzzle in terms of contact between Russia and Trump.
Yeah, I think that when you break it down as just a gap in time, the difference between what Cohen told investigators of Congress versus what actually happened, it doesn't seem like a very significant difference. I think the more significant fact is that he lied. Is that he is lying intentionally to
trying to distance
up.
The Trump enterprise generally from Russia in the 2016 period.
And there's no reason to tell that lie if there's not tentacles between the two. And so the existence of the lie is itself, that is the smoking gun. That there was connection, that there was a quid pro quo, an offer of a deal that says, okay, you're going to get this tower in Russia, in Moscow, it's going to be a big profitable real estate deal, you're going to make billions of dollars, we're going to give you, Russian government money in order to make the deal happen, which is explicitly what Cohen was saying. His job was to call Putin's people up and say, how about you give us permission and also billions on your side of the deal to make that real estate thing happen.
Well, when we come back, we're going to find out if one of Michael Cohen's colleagues on the Trump effort, namely Roger Stone, the operative for Trump, is he going to sink the Trump presidency, given the fact that he actually predicted the dump of the WikiLeaks emails, and yet now he claims he didn't know they were coming. Stay with us.
Lucky guess.
We'll be back on CRN with the Royal Oak Show. You're experiencing pain, back pain, shoulder, elbow, or hand pain from a sports injury. If so, schedule a visit with Dr. Michael Sheps, the leading expert in laser therapy for pain management. Call 310-873-4422 or go to drsheps.com. Experience Epic T, the breakthrough laser therapy system that Dr. Sheps developed to make you pain-free in less time. Laser therapy is a non-invasive, safe, and effective in-office procedure that penetrates deep into your skin without damaging the tissue. It perfectly targets areas of pain to promote fast, natural healing. Relax your muscles, ease muscle spasms, joint stiffness, and arthritis pain while increasing blood circulation. For over 25 years, Dr. Sheps has helped Olympic athletes and sports enthusiasts alike get back in the game. Schedule your visit with Dr. Sheps at his Brentwood office in California. Call 310-873-4422 or visit drsheps.com. That's DRSHEPS.com, 310-873-4422.
The smartest way for you to get the lowest prices on your plane tickets, domestic or international, is to call SmartFares first or last, but you've got to call us before you book your plane tickets. Fly anywhere in the world, fly anywhere in the U.S., and SmartFares can save you up to 75% on your plane tickets. We have the lowest airline ticket prices on over 500 airlines, and you've got a great 12-hour free cancellation window. Plus, with our live agent help, you can always get fast help and fast answers. So on your next trip, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, how about right now? Pick up your phone and call SmartFares, plus save up to 75% on your plane reservation. So call right now. 800-915-2644. 800-915-2644. 800-915-2644. 800-915-2644.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS? Newsflash, the president has changed the tax laws, and now you may be able to pay the IRS less. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, the tax doctor can help you pay the IRS as little as possible allowed by law. There are new tax laws for business owners, the self-employed, even W-2 workers. If you have a back tax problem or a few years of unfilled returns, new help to save you money is now here. Call right now to see how the new tax laws can help you. Plus, right now, we'll waive the consultation fee and give you a free tax savings report. Attention business owners, the self-employed, and W-2 workers. Make this free call to the tax doctor now and learn how to take advantage of the new tax laws that may help you pay the IRS less. 800-985-1610. 800-985-1610. 800-985-1610. That's 800-985-1610. The following ad contains shocking material. Listener discretion is advised. Is someone in your family playing a dangerous game of Russian roulette? Over 43,000 people die a year from drug overdose. 120 people a day. 5 people every hour. 1 person every 12 minutes. 88,000 people die every year from alcohol abuse. Over 240 people a day. 10 an hour. 1 person every 6 minutes. Somebody you know may be next. Learn how to help someone you love get away from the drugs, alcohol, and bad influences. With the FMLA, people can take a leave of absence from their job and still keep it. Call Quit Drugs 321 now at 800-378-3315, 800-378-3315, 800-378-3315. That's 800-378-3315.
Welcome back to the Royal Oak Show with our co-host Ken Jeffries and our millennial correspondent Connor Oakes. Guys, we're going to talk a little bit about the Roger Stone situation, whether he is a huge danger to the president. But first, we've got our beloved feature, Guess the Verdict. You guys get to guess the outcome of 2 cases here. So I'm going to lay the facts on you, and we'll see how good you are at guessing.
Is one the state versus Michael Cohen?
No. A Madeira Beach, Florida woman.
Guilty.
Close.
Go ahead.
Madeira Beach, Florida woman. She's been skinny dipping in a lake. She's spotted and arrested by a local cop. He puts her in the patrol car. He marches her into the station house without allowing her to put on any clothing.
That's not cool.
She sues for emotional distress and humiliation. So you're on the jury. How does this turn out? Do the cops win or does the lady win?
You know, I think the lady wins.
You think so?
I get that there's
bleeding heart liberals think that
there's sort of a karmic thing, like, oh, you exposed yourself in public, so we're going to expose you in public.
What if he didn't have like a gingham dress to hand to her? Yeah, she was skinny dipping. He arrested her.
I feel like
is he going to rip the upholstery off of the back seat of the cop car?
Yeah, eye for an eye sort of makes the whole world
you both
blind.
Agree. You're right. She won $135,000.
That's the naked truth. Thank you very much.
Case number 2. A Midland, Michigan couple are on their honeymoon. They are interrupted by a hotel employee. I don't want to get explicit, but let's just say they're interrupted.
You don't want to get explicit after talking about this naked lady.
You're right. They sue for $10,000, claiming their sex life was made dysfunctional and they suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, does Marriott win or does the formerly happy honeymooning couple win?
All right, I think this one might be a little bit more fact-driven, and I might have to, in order to know...
Ken's always asking what additional facts I have, and the answer is always no.
None, yeah. But I could say it's very... Because there's a lot of etiquette around the housekeeping knock, right? Because if it's knock, knock, housekeeping, pause, open, that's about as bare bones as you can get.
I think it's okay to enter then.
Yeah, exactly, because it gives them an opportunity to yell, excuse me, honeymoon.
Did they have the do not disturb sign hanging out? Maybe they
There
did.
we are. We
not.
need to know that the real question is, was it a honeymoon suite? Because with the honeymoon suite, I think it's a minimum of 4 knocks and 3 housekeeping.
What if the guests are mute?
Minimum.
Wouldn't that be an ADA issue if they're mute and they can't yell, stay out? What are they supposed to? I don't know. So what's your guess? Who wins?
Hotel.
Marriott or couple?
Hotel.
You know what? They really should have just covered himself with a sock from the previous story,
the other guy.
and we wouldn't have had any issue at all.
You're right. The hotel wins. So
I'm glad I escaped having to make a guess on that one because I had no idea. Ken, good job.
Can I do this
us.
real quick? Can I do a shout out to people who actually watch?
Absolutely.
Watch the show?
Fire away.
First of all, KFWB's intrepid reporter, retired now, John Brooks. Which camera? No, I can't remember anymore.
Over there.
John,
look at that one.
I understand John is still intrepid.
Intrepid.
Even though he may not work for KFWB anymore, still intrepid.
He's still very intrepid. And also my cousin Robin, who lives in South Florida, and she watches all the time.
So John gets higher billing than cousin Robin. Okay.
Wow.
And what
Blood's
we should do
thicker
is,
than water.
we could read your name on the air.
But not on the show.
If you're a viewer, can we do that?
Let's have birthdays, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
For the low price of $100, send it to 123 Lane.
But wait, there's
Billy
more.
Graham Road.
Okay.
So
That's all the postage you need, or whatever.
The Roger Stone situation. So let's put Roger Stone into context. You remember Dick Tuck? He was a dirty trickster for the Democrats. And for example, when Richard Nixon was running for president, had a slogan, "Nixon's the one." Dick Tuck decided a very pregnant woman should hold the sign behind the train, "Nixon's the one." That's all the press wrote about.
Amazing.
So on the other side, the Republicans have Roger Stone. He skirts the law. So he actually was introduced to Trump in the 80s by Roy Cohen, the pit bull lawyer for Joe McCarthy, who was a Trump lawyer.
I love how many times Trump invoked Joe McCarthy as pointing to the Democrats and saying, "Oh, this witch hunt is a McCarthy style." Like, you literally had the same nut job wacko lawyer.
By the way, Roy Cohen, as it turned out, was a silent partner in the first radio station I ever worked at.
Really?
And it's nothing to do with anything. But
Did you ever break anybody's kneecaps for
No. And I never met him.
So, Connor, you're attacking Roy Cohen's memory and image and so on. Is that like a homophobic thing that you're doing?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly
so Roy Cohen introduces Roger Stone to Trump. He's an operative for Trump for decades. The campaign begins. He's officially part of the campaign. Then Corey Lewandowski comes in, and all of a sudden Roger Stone is out. Then Lewandowski's fired, and Roger Stone is back in informally. So in 2016, Stone is helping Trump, but it's informal. Stone sends out a tweet in August of 2016, thereabouts, saying, well, it's going to be John Podesta's turn in the barrel soon concerning leaks, emails, and so on. And so, sure enough, in October, WikiLeaks dumps thousands of emails. How did Roger Stone know that it was going to be Podesta's turn of the barrel? Stone claims, it was public information. I was gleaning it from here and there.
Prescient.
His colleague, Jerome Corsi,
that he peers into and can see the future.
And his colleague Jerome Corsi also works for Trump, and he too seems to have advanced knowledge. Yeah. And Corsi admits that he and Stone trumped up a lie about when a memo was written to try to show that there was no advanced knowledge by Stone.
Jerome Corsi is like my new favorite person. Basically goes on TV and says, I lied, we faked it all, I'm ready to die in jail.
Yeah, and so what we have here is a situation where Trump's people allegedly had their fingerprints on the process of the Russians hacking the emails of the Democrats. We know that happened in March 2016. We know that was handed to WikiLeaks, and then WikiLeaks dumped it in October. And the question is, does Donald Trump have any culpability? At this point, a lot of intriguing, suspicious facts surrounding Corsi and Peter and Roger Stone. I don't know, though, that we have any smoking gun that says, okay, Donald Trump, pack up your suitcase and resign. Not yet.
Again, we don't know what Mueller has. What does Mueller have? I don't know. He ain't talking.
Well, we're probably going to get a report out of Mueller. First, we've got the president's written responses to his questions, because apparently Mueller gave up on the idea of forcing him to give oral answers. So that's in the books. And now we've got all these plea deals with Manafort and so on, although now the plea deal with Manafort's falling apart. I wouldn't be surprised if Mueller, Mueller's not immune to criticism that, hey, it's going on endlessly and costing millions of dollars. I wouldn't be surprised that come the new year, when the Democrats control the House and so they can have the investigation, then we're going to see Mueller's report. And the interesting thing then then is, under the law, the Mueller report goes to acting AG Whitaker. He decides whether it sees the light of day or not. Now, can you imagine the firestorm of protest if Mueller's people sort of leaked the fact that, we did hand over a report 3 days ago to Whitaker, and Whitaker says, nothing to see here.
Important.
Return to your homes. Yeah. The Democrats running the House can send out subpoenas.
Yeah, there is that deadline
and
taking over the House. That's right.
I just want to add now that we brought up Jerome Corsi, like I said, my new favorite person. I want to bring up his statement that he said that he provided recounting his interaction with the Mueller team when he was interviewed. Quote, "They didn't believe it." Close quote, Corsi said, describing the reaction of Mueller's team when he told them he had just somehow figured out what WikiLeaks was up to. Quote, Jeannie Rhee, one of the prosecutors on Mueller's team, said, Dr. Corsi, are you asking us to believe that on an extended international flight with your wife, he's flying to Italy at this time, for an anniversary, you had divine intervention and God inspired your mind and told you Assange has Podesta's emails and they're going to be dumped in October and they're going to be dumped in a serial fashion. All of this stuff he somehow mysteriously, magically knew. And Corsi's response is, yes, God told me. Wow. God told me, not Julian Assange, no one at WikiLeaks, not Russia. It was God. It was divine intervention. And he's telling he's saying it as though, why wouldn't they believe me? Why didn't Mueller's team believe me when I told them that it was divine intervention that told me how the emails would be dumped?
So the bottom line is what you're saying is the president surrounds himself with colorful people. I think that's one way to put it.
Yeah, personalities.
So I think what we're looking at in 2019 is a rerun of 1998 in the sense that the Republicans couldn't resist going after Clinton for impeachment, even though they knew they couldn't get a two-thirds vote in the Senate. And, you can argue over whether the perjury, the lies about sex and so on under oath justified impeachment. We're going to get a report from Mueller, and either the Democrats are going to feel, we're going to go for the brass ring. We're going to impeach him with a simple majority of Democrats in the House, even though we know it's going to be tough in the Senate.
And impeachment only requires a majority in the House?
A majority in the House to impeach, two-thirds in the Senate to convict. So more to come in 2019. Hey, we've got to talk about the caravan. So how do you see it? Is it really just a situation of tear-gassing toddlers, what have we come to? Or is it legitimate when they're throwing rocks and debris at the agents? Somebody did a survey and found that the Obama administration used pepper spray on migrants at the border in 2013 for throwing rocks. They've done it back to the Jimmy Carter era in 1980 and 1979. The press likes to play up the fact that you got women and children up front and they're, they got the tear gas in their eyes. But I mean, if it's that or having a Border Patrol guy, have his family go to his funeral, don't you think some level of violence, non-lethal force, a rock literally can be lethal force, tear gas is not. Aren't we justified in resisting the migrants if they try to cross the border?
Of course, and we shouldn't move the goalposts on that. We are, of course, justified in resisting people crossing the border illegally, especially when we have all the evidence in the world that this individual is approaching the border and they want to cross illegally. The problem is that the situation that we have created at the border, where Trump is saying things like, we're going to shut it down permanently, we're going to shut down the entire border with Mexico, all travel across the Mexican border will be stopped.
Yeah, he threatened to do that.
The fact that we have got our asylum laws that say you have to present yourself at a port of entry and be allowed, show up at the port of entry and be allowed to present yourself and seek asylum at that point. What we've basically put these people under is a ticking clock. We put a gun on them and said, you've got to get in and present yourself and try to claim asylum before Trump does something crazy like shut down the entire border or pass and change immigration law that says there's no more asylum or something like that, as he tried to do basically.
Can I say one thing?
Ken has a comment.
I covered this past week on the news, and there were 42 arrests made, 0 prosecutions.
Really?
They're not going to prosecute.
Yeah. We already know that they're dropping the charges or not going to pursue all?
Yeah, we do.
Wow, interesting.
The Associated Press learned, nope, and they said they quoted a U.S. official, I don't remember saying who it was. Yes, they did.
Is that to avoid making them martyrs? I don't
sympathy
for
them? don't know, but
that would make sense.
But I think Trump may have said, and I just don't remember this exactly, he may say, well, next time it's not going to be like that, Well, and I could be putting. I don't want to. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. But I'm saying there's 0 prosecution.
We can edit it out in post.
Yeah, we can take care of that in post production.
Thank you for that. Cut it.
But 0 of the 42 arrests made at the border this past Sunday, down in Otay Mesa and San Isidro, There were zero prosecutions.
Honestly, I think that is
whatever that means.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable reaction to understanding the pressures that these people are put under. We have put them in a situation that is completely untenable. Mexico doesn't want them there. Their home countries often don't want them back. America doesn't want them. They're trapped. They're in tent cities, and they go to these ports of entry, and they say, "I'd like to claim asylum," and the ports of entry say, "We're overloaded, and we will."
You're right. There are 10 cities now in Tijuana.
We'll process a tiny slice of people every day, and everybody else just has to sit there and wait. And while you could say these people have lost patience, there's every reason in the world to believe that they're under enormous time pressure. So when you see them then do something crazy like rush the border so that they can get arrested and claim asylum. A lot of them
know are going back home.
No, you're right.
Several thousand are going back to their countries.
This is a hugely important story, but I'd rather talk about Stormy Daniels.
Please.
So let's move to Stormy.
To strip away the
So
facts.
it's so sad to me that there's been a breakdown of a relationship between Michael Avenatti and Stormy Daniels. What happened is
it was a beautiful.
At first, when the domestic violence stuff came up a few weeks ago, she said, "Hey, we got to look into this, because this is bad news." Now she's saying he's misrepresented my statements. He's done things without my authorization. Yeah. For example, when we sued Trump for defamation 5 or 6 months ago, I didn't know anything about that. I wasn't on board with that. So she's totally throwing him under the bus.
Right.
And why?
Because
she lost the suit. And when she lost the suit, the judge said, "Oh, by the way, generally losers don't have to pay attorney's fees, but you do in this case because of this clause in the arbitration agreement and so on." She's on the hook for $400,000, and so she's saying, maybe she's telling the truth. She's saying Michael Avenatti did this on his own. I wasn't on board the defamation train.
I'll say
I
this.
just feel so bad for Michael. Is the thing.
Poor boy.
I'll just say this. I'm not a Michael Avenatti fan, but I will say that from my time in doing legal malpractice defense, defending attorneys who get sued for malpractice, which might well happen in this situation, or basically is effectively the same thing without a lawsuit. She's saying he committed malpractice. People like to treat their lawyers like an insurance policy.
Right.
They like to say, this person, I didn't get the result I wanted in my legal case, and now I'm liable for a bunch of money or simply have to pay a bunch of bills to my attorney, so I'm going to sue him or accuse him or her of doing a bad job and committing malpractice, and then, ooh, look at that, basically my bills go away.
So almost as important as Stormy Daniels is climate change. Huge report out of
good segue, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Both are hot.
Dozens of federal agencies have put together a gigantic report that the whole world is talking about, and they're saying that if we don't work on climate change, we're going to lose 10% of our economy in a certain number of decades down the road. Now, the president tried to respond to this.
That's greater than the Great Recession.
I'm trying to understand what he said. Maybe you guys can help. Okay. The Washington Post said, "Mr. President, why are you skeptical of the report?" One of the problems that a lot of people like myself, we have very high levels of intelligence.
Sounds like JFK, by the way.
But we're not necessarily such believers. Yeah.
Believers.
You look at our air and water, and it's right now at a record clean. When you look at China and parts of Asia, and when you look at South America, you look at other places, including Russia, their air is incredibly dirty. And when you're talking about an atmosphere, oceans are very small, and it blows over and it sails over. So in other words, he knows nothing about this, but he's skeptical about it. Now,
very skeptical. He has a high IQ.
I would suggest that instead of reading his thoughts, go to the Wall Street Journal, November 28, and Holman Jenkins wrote an interesting piece. He talked about this 1,600-page report, and he said that the key is their estimate of future emissions, and he said this is a high-emission scenario in which global population grows faster than currently expected, technological change is minimal, improvement in energy efficiency is minimal. The scenario also requires the extraction of large amounts of unconventional hydrocarbon resources well beyond presently extractable reserves. He says that they still arrive at a manageable $510 billion in estimated annual climate change. Paying this bill would be a nuisance, not Armageddon. He says a sizable portion of human economic activity since hunter-gatherer times has been devoted to mitigating climate risk. When the arrival of the theory of man-made warming came the opportunity and perhaps imperative to consider applying these costs to altering climate directly. Bottom line is he's trying to take a middle ground and say, yeah, they're raising serious issues, but it isn't necessarily that the sky is falling. I still want to see objective scientists evaluate this as opposed to possibly a more progressive bent to this report that came out.
I'm very interested in reading that article, absolutely. My intuition is that it's, basically the same, technological future will solve all our problems, and they're projecting way more energy usage than is is reasonable. But, when he says things like it requires more extraction, well, as gas gets more expensive, we're going to develop new strategies for extraction, and the same we're going to develop new strategies for mitigation. So they chase each other and they chase their tail.
So all we have to do is get in the Wayback Machine and go back to a cooler, kinder, gentler time. Stick with us on the Royal Oak Show.
We'll be back on CRN with the Royal Oak Show.
Hey, Lorraine, do you realize that your mother, my mother-in-law, Chef Maria, has been serving Las Vegas since 1949?
Yes, I do, Dennis. That's when she first met Howard Hughes, who fell in love with her cooking.
And in 1955, she opened her first restaurant on Fremont Street.
Yes, dear. And another great customer was Liberace.
Wow. Then in 1962, while Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack were causing global excitement on the Las Vegas Strip, your family opened their second restaurant.
And in 1972, Elvis Presley began electrifying Las Vegas audiences and eating in our restaurants.
You know, Lorraine, this is quite a town. There's only one Las Vegas.
And there's only one Bootlegger Italian Bistro.
Folks, when you're in Las Vegas, come visit us. We'll make you feel like you're part of our family.
The Bootlegger Italian Bistro, conveniently located at 7700 Las Vegas Boulevard, South Strip. Visit our website at www.bootleggerlasvegas.com.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it, you could junk it, or you could donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It will be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car, and as a special thank you for calling, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to many exciting locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now, 1-800-785-9618. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher. Call now, 1-800-785-9618. That's 1-800-785-9618.
The smartest way for you to get the lowest prices on your plane tickets, domestic or international, is to call SmartFares first or last, but you've got to call us before you book your plane tickets. Fly anywhere in the world, fly anywhere in the U.S., and SmartFares can save you up to 75% on your plane tickets. We have the lowest airline ticket prices on over 500 airlines, and you've got a great 12-hour free cancellation window. Plus, with our live agent help, you can always get fast help and fast answers. So on your next trip, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, how about right now? Pick up your phone and call SmartFares, plus save up to 75% on your plane reservation. So call right now. 800-915-2644. 800-915-2644. 800-915-2644. 800-915-2644.
Back to the Royal Oak Show with the co-host Ken Jeffries.
Cats in the Cradle, Harry Chapin.
You got it. Millennial correspondent Connor Oakes. So part two of our Moron of the Week competition here. We had one fellow, it was a nomination earlier. Here's the second one, guys. A Southwest Airlines gate agent. He's doing his job. A woman and her 5-year-old daughter show up, and he looks at the name of the 5-year-old girl, and the little girl's name is ABCDE.
Oh, I saw this.
Yeah.
Sorry,
ABCDE is the actual name of the little girl.
Is that like a computer mistake that replaced her name with
her
a string
mom
of...
named her that for whatever reason?
She used to watch Sesame Street a lot, I think.
Well, you know, people have named women, baby girls, Famale, F-E-M-A-L-E, because they saw Famale on the form. Anyway, so she pronounces it Abcity. That's how she pronounces A-B. So, okay, fine. As a veteran of the weird name as a kid wars, you know, I've got a little PTSD residual. But this guy started laughing at her and making fun of the 5-year-old girl, and he went on social media and posted her boarding pass.
Oh my gosh!
This is kind of a jerk move, I think. So he is a candidate for Moron of the Week. So guys, what would you say?
Him. Instead of it beats Mr. Sacco, I think.
Yeah, the guy who tried to pay for his McDonald's with a sock, you don't think is quite as big a moron as the social media fiend?
All right, I've got the hottest take, the best tweet on this topic.
Good.
Guys, I get that it's a weird name and you want to express your displeasure, but let's not burn this mother of ABCDE in EFGHI.
I like
by, let me get it, at Mike Engel, Michael Engel, E-N-G-E-L. Go follow him on Twitter. He's hilarious.
Spell good, S-P-E-L.
That's pretty good. Don't burn her in effigy. I love it.
Not bad. So we promised to be Debbie Downers here about your beloved dogs, because everybody love their dogs and they think they're smarter than Lassie. It turns out, according to the big study in learning and behavior just out this week, dogs are pretty ordinary compared to other carnivores, domestic animals, social hunters. They're not exceptional at all.
See, we're framing it wrong. We shouldn't be saying our dogs are dumb. We should be saying other carnivores are smarter than we thought. Everybody's smart. Rising tide.
I suppose, but a lot of people, this article points out that some people are just so enamored of their dogs. One guy was quoted as saying, "Sparky looked into my eyes and then at the refrigerator, he knew I wanted a beer." Sounds like the guy was just an alcoholic. It was an easy call.
If he got him the beer, that'd be pretty cool.
So anyway, pigs apparently are smarter, and pigs have better noses than dogs. Dogs are supposed to have these incredible olfactory abilities. Porky's better.
Yes, but there's
whiskers.
They're so much more delicious.
That's true.
Well, that's all, folks.
It's a matter of opinion. That's right. So Chuck Schumer was in the news, not in a good way this week. Some people say he contradicted himself. Do you hear what he said about Chief Justice Roberts? So Chief Justice Roberts said, there are no Obama judges or Clinton judges. There are just honest federal judges. You put on the black robe, you set aside your biases. And so what does Schumer say? He wants to support this idea. Yeah, the judiciary, they're unbiased and they're independent. So he sends out a tweet. He says, I don't agree often with Roberts, especially his partisan decisions that seem highly political on Citizens United. But I'm thankful today that he, almost alone among Republicans, stood up to Trump for an independent judiciary. So in a way, I guess he's contradicting his points because he's admitting that judges are biased when he blasts the head judge in the country.
Yeah, that's pretty much the dumbest tweet I've ever seen in my life. Maybe the second dumbest after Trump's very legal and very cool tweet of this week, but still incredibly dumb. Schumer also put his foot in his mouth this week, or maybe last week, with basically lay down on his back and showed his belly to Trump and said, okay, I'll give you $1.6 billion for your insane, unnecessary border wall, but not a cent more.
I think we need a tiebreaker. I think we need a tiebreaker for moron of the week because, we had the guy that tried to pay for McDonald's with a sock. And then we had the guy that made fun of the 5-year-old girl's name. I think we've got a tiebreaker here. Socialist gal, youngest congressperson in history, when asked, what are you going to do? She said, I think all 3 branches of government should be taken over by the Democrats. What are those 3 branches of government? That's the presidency and the Senate and the House. And then when somebody said, those aren't the 3 branches, she said, you're right. Those are the 3 chambers. So, okay, by official edict, I believe she won the moron competition. See you next week, folks.